What exactly are you here for today? Let's ask that question first. I am not going to tickle your ears, nor am I going to participate in cyberspace prophecy fallacy. As a man of reason, as a man of scientific process, I'm going to simply bring up the baseline of these observations. Man, I'll tell you what, you can't swing a cat in 2024 without knocking over 10 false prophets. And is the cyberspace world full of it? It's no different than thousands of years ago. Men who would remember the cycles in the heavens would get everyone jazzed up to grab that power of attention. What is the actual point of prophecy? The point of prophecy is not to tickle our ears and entertain us for ghost stories and for entertainment value online. The point of prophecy was supposed to profess the principles of righteousness of our God and call us back into what? The key word, obedience. Nobody's interested in obedience, and you're not going to find a prophet who is a true prophet that does not pull you back to obedience. So today we're going to go over the baselines, basic scientific process of establishing a reality baseline. We're going to talk about facts, not feelings. We're going to talk about earthquakes. How many earthquakes are there? We have to know the baseline before we start connecting, the signs of the heavens connected with an earthquake. Okay, how many times a year do the signs of the heaven occur? How many times do earthquakes occur every single day? How many wars are there in history? Rumors of wars? We need to look at this from a sober, I can't believe I'm saying that because it's funny because I like beer, okay? But I'm telling you, people are drunk on the wine of Babylon. Babylon being the confused woman who is supposed to be betrothed to him, but she's not because she's running around not interested in what he ever said to do. She just wants to be entertained the whole time. Running around, entertained, not cool, okay? So we're going to talk about CERN. We're going to talk about the schedule of CERN. And we're going to talk about the eclipse, okay? Gosh darn it, you guys. This is going to be fun. Bear with me, a little bit of a talk. But I'm telling you, you need to be able to determine what is a true prophet and what is the function of a true prophet. What is the point of a prophet? To say a bunch of interesting stuff online so that you can subscribe to their thing? No. The point of a true prophet is to lead you into obedience, which will reduce your subscribers, hopefully, because that's reality. Or are they this other false prophet over here? So you got the true prophets who are trying to lead you into obedience, and anyone else whether it be true or false, we're told, we'll go over this, whether it be true or false, a prophet that does not lead you to into obedience, even if the stuff they says comes to pass, they're a false prophet. We need to read the book. Bear with me. Here we go. Hey guys, Rex here. We have two flavors of false prophets you're supposed to watch out for in the scriptures. We are told how to see if they're a false prophet or not. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the April 8th eclipse. Man, oh man, do people get spun up. And you can tell a lot about someone's directionality by what their focus is. Are they focused on signs and wonders in the heavens and internet stuff? Or are they focused on this? Okay? You can learn a lot about someone based on what their focus is. How do you know what their focus is? What are they excited about? What comes up? The groups that I hang out with, I'm very blessed. When we get together for our meetings, they just want to go through the weekly scripture portions, man. We stay pretty centered on that. However, there are a lot of people very spun up. So I hope to offer some closure on the balance of this issue. So on April 8th, 2024, There is a solar eclipse happening that just so happens to crisscross with another one that happened right next to Hell's Kitchen, which is by the town of Nineveh. And this is right on the Ozarks, where all the God's people live, in the Ozarks. And there's all this stuff happening. They're firing up CERN. Oh man, it's happening. So I got a few different exhibits. We're going to look at some facts first. Facts do not care about our feelings. Math is a blade to cut through the BS. And we need to operate on his operating system, not on what is enticing to our ears. Okay? There are many things that I find to be interesting. It's not terrible to indulge once in a while in interesting things. But if you're spun up about it and then you try to mix that with his word, you need to be very careful, okay? Because there are rules. So I have Exhibit A. First off, let's look at this. Exhibit A, we're going to talk about earthquakes. So I did watch a lengthy video done by a person who's a Bible teacher guy. And he's talking about the earthquakes and the synchronicity between these earthquakes and eclipses in the past, and how there's signs for all these things that happen, especially with wars and things like that. First off, whether it be a train crash, or it be a barge crashing into a bridge, or a large ship crashing into a bridge, or a war, or a rumor of a war, we have to surround ourselves with context of facts. And what is, as a scientist, you have to establish a baseline first, okay? Now, a lot of people who would like to entice your ears will bamboozle you and get you all spun up, because just like the priests of old who would dance around on top of pyramids because they had a schedule figuring out the cycles of the seasons, and we have a greater light to rule the day, a lesser light to rule the night, just like it says in the book, in the instruction manual, right? There are people that memorize those cycles, and they know that a lot of the normal people are too busy working to remember that stuff. And they will use that to manipulate you and entice your ears to make them look like they need to be the center of attention. And we'll get into false prophets in a minute, okay? But we need to, as scientists, or people that, are at least going to look at this in a direction of objectivity, we need to look at this from an angle of what is the baseline facts, okay? So first off, here's a list of, I had a prophecy last night in my sleep about, I don't know, a snowman. A snowman had a thing coming out of his nose, and then when that occurs, in synchronization, that dream with the earthquake, that would prove my theory. Here's today's earthquakes list. Okay, so each one of these is from the USGS magnitude 2.5 or bigger earthquakes in just today, last 24 hours. So here's the time, latitude, longitude, depth, magnitude, etc., location. Okay, so here's one page of earthquakes. See those? This is today. And this is just the ones that were above 2.5. Here's another one. Several of these were in Texas today, Here's another page. Today's earthquakes. Not this year, not this month, not this last century. That's today's earthquakes. Every single day, you will have hundreds of earthquakes and dozens of ones big enough to be registered 2.5 or above. Multiple dozens. I got pages and pages of today's earthquakes that I grabbed off the USGS website today, measured by seismographs, okay? That's Exhibit A. Here's a map. Now see, if I had a prophecy in my brain, can we synchronize the existence of an earthquake to an event and see any kind of pattern in it? Here's just the earthquakes map for today in the North America, and a lot of these dots have several next to it, right? Well, look, the prophecy of Alaska. It synchronizes of when the bird landed on the branch. This is the facts, okay? So this is just is it possible that if you look back in time when there was a solar eclipse, and we'll look at that next. Is it possible that it could synchronize with an earthquake on the same day? Yeah, hundreds of earthquakes every day. Some of them big. Right, Exhibit B, eclipses. Okay, these are eclipses. I believe these are solar eclipses between 1901 and 2100. So this is for 2 decades. This is solar eclipses just in the United States, visible from the United States. This does not include the lunar eclipses. This is just the solar. It's so rare for an eclipse to come to the United States, Rex. No, it's not. State by state. Here's the eclipses in Alaska. Here's eclipses in Arizona that have happened. Arkansas, California. Some of these are scheduled for like 2045 and a little further, right? There are eclipses all the time. Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, all 50 states. These are the eclipses visible from the states. This is not eclipses everywhere else in the oceans and in Europe and in Asia. By the way, what does it tell you? Page after page of page. Solar eclipses. Well, are they total or are they annular? A lot of these are total eclipses. It says total and annular here. Okay? A lot of them are total eclipses. There's been lots of eclipses just in the last 100 years in the United States. Lots. They crisscross all the time. They crisscross in a manner of different directions and angles because of the tilt of the Earth is different than the tilt of the moon. Now, unless there's no tilt of the Earth, unless it's a table or something, okay? But I don't know about any of that. But TLO, we have a huge amount of earthquakes per day, every single day. And we have a lot of eclipses to choose from. Now, if I put lunar eclipses on here, holy moly, you'd have a book this thick, okay? Now, if I did this not just for the United States, but for the actual world, it'd be a book this thick of stuff that happened just within our lifetimes. There are a lot of eclipses, and there are a lot of earthquakes. Earthquakes every day, hundreds and dozens of them, right? Dozens of big ones, hundreds of little ones. Sometimes a huge one, okay? Lots of eclipses. So can I proof text any possible harebrained idea in terms of time prophecies based on earthquakes? I could proof text it, but would it represent reality? Would that be deceptive of someone to do? Yes, because there's earthquakes hundreds of times a day. Would it be deceptive to link a prophecy with a moon or solar, lunar or solar event? Oh yeah, you can link up everything to that because there's eclipses all the time, lunar and solar eclipses all the time. Okay, wars. For those of you that have, maybe only remember American history, where they in American history, learn about World War II, maybe, Vietnam, the War on Terror, maybe the Civil War. Here's the list of wars, 1700 to 1800. These are just major, huge wars. Major, huge wars. Okay? And these are the years in which those wars last, sometimes decades, years, months, decades. So could an eclipse have landed on a war on the same day of an earthquake? Yeah. Every war had an eclipse on it, and earthquakes, lots of earthquakes in diverse places. For these things are going to come to pass. Was Yeshua highlighting that there will be an earthquake? Or was he saying, if you read carefully, was Yeshua simply saying, hey, there's going to be wars? There's always wars. And rumors of wars. Now, this is certainly not a list of rumors of wars. That list would be from here to California. Huh? There will be wars, rumors of wars, and earthquakes in diverse places. Of course, these things must come to pass. He's saying that it's normal, is what he's actually saying, okay, for that to happen. But the end is not yet, he says, because this stuff is what everyone focuses on, and he's correcting them. He's actually quoting Torah. It says, do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are the ones that are dismayed in the signs of heaven. Straight from Jeremiah, what is that, chapter 10? Don't read the rest. It's too scary, especially during the wintertime, okay? So here's the wars. 1800, so we have 21 wars listed here. These are major wars. 36 wars listed here from 1800 to 1900. Each one of these is a major military campaign effort with full combat. 1900 to 200. These are not lists of skirmishes. These are not lists of coups. Look at this. In 2000, all they have listed in this list was the Afghan War, the Iraq War, and the Syrian Civil War. They didn't have Ukraine on here, and Russia. That should be on there. Haiti, what about Haiti? Barbecue in Haiti? Yeah. How about Burma? Burma's been at war the whole time. That's not on the list. What about all the wars in Africa right now? Not on the list. So this is a list that's major military campaign operations only. And look, solid through the history of the world. Name a year in which there was not a war. I challenge you to do that. There's only a very small amount of time in history where that happened, and it was a long time ago. Name a year in which there was not a war in modern times. Since the Romans, or the Medes and the Persians, or the Egyptians. Name me one year when there's not a war, a major war. Okay, so can we link wars? Did you know that on such and such date there was a war at the same time of the eclipse, at the same time of the earthquakes? It's happening, people. I had a dream. We need to do this. And what's the dream usually? My question is the person calling you to obedience? Okay, because there's two versions of false prophets we're going to go over. And the last exhibit I have here, just based on science. What about CERN? But Rex, they're spinning up CERN now. Man, I love you guys. We need to get off the internet all the time. I don't really put a lot of stuff on YouTube anymore because it's just too dumb. It's too dumb on YouTube. That's why I'm on Patreon all the time. Selected audience, filtered audience. We talk about things that matter. We talk about the actual problem. Did you know there's a concerted effort to get you spun up to distract you? And the enemy wants you to be dismayed at the signs of heaven. Why? Because you're not looking under your own roof. Because then you're not working on your actual problems in your house. Everyone's on the internet worried about stuff thousands of miles away, or looking in the sky worrying about normal cycles. Spun up on really, really fancy made videos with good music and like the really cool lettering and all this stuff, and they're not doing their job. Final one, CERN. Here's CERN's schedule. I just grabbed it off their deal and downloaded it. This is their schedule. They put it out. Okay, so all these tan lines here that you'll see for each one of these is a month, okay? Those are commissioning with the beam. We have proton physics. We have ion physics are the darker ones, okay? And then we have maintenance and shutdown scheduled stops. If you talk to it, I actually know a lot of people that are in theoretical particle physics. A lot of them used to come to my classes. Some of them are still in my classes now on Patreon. Talk to a PhD in theoretical particle physics. They keep those super colliders spun up all summer, every year. When it's winter, the electricity is too expensive. The rest of the year, they basically fire it up in the springtime and shut it down before winter because the electricity is too much. They're running experiments 24/7 in those super colliders. They're big, expensive machines. They're spun up all the time. To justify their existence, they have to get numerous different projects so they can fund that thing. So they can fund the existence and maintain everyone's job. Those things are on all the time. They turn them on every year in the spring. They're spinning up CERN, Rex. They're going to release the demon locusts like on that Stephen King movie, The Fog, or what is that? The Silence, or where the fog comes down and the grasshoppers eat everybody? Pretty scary movie, okay? Yeah, I know. They have it spun up all the time, see? Every summer it's spun up. And then they shut it down for maintenance and to rebuild it. And they're expanding on some of the projects. Would you worry about CERN doing bad stuff? Sure. They're a bunch of crazy heathens, man. They're trying to open up Abaddon's pit, the bottomless pit. I know. They talk about it openly. Like, that's what they talk about. But let me ask you a question. Why are we spun up about that stuff? Okay, so let's read the rules here. Now let's talk about, there's two kinds of false prophets, guys. What is the center of gravity of a false prophet's efforts? Usually, I mean, just think about it. Put yourself in their shoes, a false prophet. Going back to the Aztec times or going to Hebrew times or Jezebel and Ahab and all the different priests hopping around doing their magical spells. What is the center of gravity of a false prophet's operation? Probably to get attention. So if a false prophet is an attention whore, they're going to use anything possible to get attention, okay? I haven't been posting on YouTube hardly at all recently. In the last few years, it's like I said, it's too dumb, but also we're busy with actual brothers trying to put our lives together, following his instructions. Let's read to you some stuff about false prophets from the book, okay? Deuteronomy 18. When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, if that thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken, but the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not fear him or respect him. Basically, fear him means respect. You got these guys running around with all these prophecies 24/7, okay? And how do people continue to follow those guys? Guys run around just continuously like, next week it's happening. And then it comes to pass, next week it's happening. You need to mark these guys as false prophets, man. That's one form of false prophet. When they say stuff and it don't come to pass, even if he's speaking in the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. If they're predicting something based on, like in Ezekiel says in chapter 13, false visions or lying divinations. False visions. You know how many people at church do not actually read this book, but just get all spun up on their own church propaganda and see themselves as a prophet, and will have visions and dreams, and they'll misinterpret sound bites out of the scripture, and they'll give you their interpretation of their dreams. When that stuff doesn't happen, you need to mark them as a false prophet, because it's dangerous not to. Jeremiah 14, prophesying lies in my name. When you use his name and say, God told me that this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen. Well, now God's a liar, see? You pollute his name when you do that. Serious crime. Shouldn't be doing that. Okay, false hopes, Jeremiah 23. This is what Jehovah Almighty says. Do not listen to what the prophets are prophesying to you. They fill you with false hopes. They speak visions from their own minds, not from the mouth of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. So they're not speaking to you what his things are. Now, if a true prophet will simply read what's in this book or point you to details that are literally in this book, not random synthesized propaganda videos on the internet in which they use this book to proof text idiotic ideas that have nothing to do with what he said to do. Matthew 24, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, it were the elect. Now, this is another flavor of false prophets to where they're actually empowered by the Creator to actually do signs and wonders in the sight of men to test them. They're actually given miraculous power, and they're actually given unto certain prophecies that do, in fact, come true. Well, the test of a prophet is only if they fail in their prediction, not necessarily. There's two kinds of false prophets. There's ones using his name, saying stuff that doesn't come to pass. That's category one. They're just idiots. Don't fear him. Don't respect him. Okay? Actually, the penalty in the Bible is very clear, very severe too. Okay? The second kind of false prophet says stuff that does come to pass. Let's say that on April 8th, 2024, a bunch of locusts fly out of the Ozark Mountains from the Abaddon opening up the bottomless pit from CERN, and everyone's getting bitten by these grasshoppers and locusts, and then there's like lightning in the heavens, and then these prophets go and teach you to follow a system that is not doing what? I'll read that in a minute. His commandments. If the prophets are not leading you to obeying his commandments, then they're a false prophet. The full test of whether a prophet is false or not, number one, is what they're saying true? If it doesn't come to pass, that's it, cut them off. If it does come to pass, see what they're teaching you. Because it says specifically, Yeshua is repeating, he's actually quoting from the Old Testament. He's actually quoting from Deuteronomy in the Torah. Jesus, Yeshua here is quoting from Deuteronomy, the rule of testing a false prophet. Okay? So they have to lead you to obedience to be a true prophet. It has to come to pass, and then it has to be pointing at obedience. They should be getting you to keep God's law. Roger? 2 Timothy, they gather around them, great number of teachers saying stuff that's itching to their ears, what they want to hear. Okay, so he's saying, for the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. The time will come where people are not interested in what God told us to actually do in our lives. Why? Because it's yucky and dry and old, dusty Testament. We don't want to hear what we're supposed to do. We just want the interesting stuff. Rex, tell us about the redheifers. When do you think the Lord's coming back? Do you think the CERN has spun up the internet bullshit? For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Love God, love your neighbor. Here are the expanded bullet points. Here, read the 10 Commandments. What are the laws? Huh? So they're not going to put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their eyes away from the truth and turn aside to myths. If you hang out in a group that is all spun up on all the internet myths 24/7, and they're studying the earthquake cycles, man, and this thing, well, I heard a video from this guy, and man, it seems good, and it feels like it's true. Be careful of who you hang around. We need to be seeking Papa's instructions. How come everyone's so well-versed in the latest biblical prophecy videos, but no one's well-versed in what he told us to do? We need to be spending 90% of our time figuring out what he told us to do. In fact, all the stuff that's prophecy is aimed, all the bad stuff that you're all spun up about and interested in, all that stuff is literally aimed at your face if you're not in obedience. Okay? So like if you don't have your basics squared away and your heart is not right, and your hands do not follow suit in what you say your heart says. Oh, my heart's in the right spot, Rex. Yeah, so how come we need to continue that, because that should be eventually, if it's true, tell me all about your faith with your mouth, whatever. Show me your faith through what you're doing. Yeshua did good works. He didn't just talk about them. We're supposed to follow likewise with him. 1 John, dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. This is how you can recognize the Spirit of God. Every spirit that acknowledges Yeshua HaMashiach has come in the flesh is from Elohim. Okay, so that's one test of a spirit. First off, they have to have their God in order. What was Yeshua? Okay, so let's go to Yeshua, because we're told by John to point to Yeshua. What did Yeshua say, Jesus, about false prophets? Well, we just read earlier is quoting from Deuteronomy 13. If there arise you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and this, now pay attention, and that sign or the wonder does come to pass, whether he spake unto thee, saying, let us go after and follow other gods, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. You shall not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dream of dreams. For the Lord your God proveth you to know whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. Quoting the two great commandments in the Shema, basically. Okay? Ye shall walk after Jehovah your God, Yahuwah, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh, and fear him, and keep his commandments. Yeshua was quoting this his entire ministry. And do what? Keep his commandments and obey his voice. Rex, you keep talking about obedience. That's not near as entertaining as the video where the locusts come out of the ground. Okay, smart guy. Who is the locust? What house are they going to attack? People who bear false witness against his name. People who say they represent him that aren't doing what he said to do. The locust is coming for you, bro. They obey his voice and shall serve him and cleave to him. And that prophet or the dreamer of dreams shall be... Not going to say it. Because he hath spoken to turn you away from Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord God commanded thee to walk in. So thou shalt put evil away from the midst of thee. Even if your brother, your mother, or your son does it, you're supposed to cut it off. Okay? Obedience, man. I tell you what, I love you guys. Why is it that the videos done by these guys about their private interpretations of their own personal dismay of the heavens are what get 80 billion views on YouTube, and then the stuff where guys are trying to go through the nitty-gritty of how we're supposed to treat each other with love and excellence? Like, this kind of stuff? No one's interested in that. We don't want to treat each other with love and excellence. We don't want to learn how to hold each other accountable and fall into some kind of structure that was designed by him. Why? Because we have taken a strong delusion. It's a simple test. So here's a simple test, guys, to see if you're in the right group or not. Okay? And I'm not being mean. Listen, if people are spun up on whatever's the latest fad on the internet, and then that stuff comes to pass and turns out not to be true, and they just go from one fallacy to another, hopping around, blowing in the wind with their doctrines. So if their intelligence is memorizing the sports cards of Babylon's, confusion, right? But they're not versed in what Papa said to do. Gosh darn it, we need to grow past that. And this can be a stage we can all go through to where it's very interesting. But if you truly love Papa, your focus will be on trying to please Papa. It'll be on trying to please Papa by reading what he said to do in his scrolls, man. Your focus will not be on, sit around the campfire and tell scary ghost stories about probably where's the cool part in this book where like a dinosaur eats everybody, Rex? I think that's in the end. Oh, wow, let's read it and see what it means. What do you think it means? Well, I think that I was watching Bill O'Reilly, and that sounds an awful lot like a certain, invasion in whatever country. But we're not interested in what Papa says to do, okay? So what I'm bringing to the table here is let's review the TLOs. Number one, false prophets are going to share with you all kinds of interesting stuff to do what? To get attention, because that's their operating system. They want attention. They want you to fear them. They're trying to jump in front of the first commandment and get you to fear them rather than you. See, they see you fearing Elohim. They see you fearing Elohim, and they want that attention. So they use his name and his sacred instructions here to get you all spun up so they can hijack your attention. What is the first commandment? Oh, I don't remember, Rex. That's a problem. The first commandment, we have to do the first commandment. You are not allowed to be scared of guys on YouTube with their videos. And when I say scared, I mean like respect is what the word fear means in the first commandment. You don't need to respect those guys like they're in Elohim's, they're not his spokesperson if they're making stuff up out of their dreams or their personal vision they had. A lot of these guys are straight up fraudsters, man. You got to be careful because they're getting you to disobey the first commandment because you're fearing anything besides him. You're not allowed to be scared of Putin. You're not allowed to fear your sheriff. You're not allowed to fear Satan. You're not allowed to fear the president, the judges, the Supreme Court, the news, your boss at work. Oh man, my boss wouldn't let me take the feast off. You're fearing your boss more than what he commanded us to do. Not allowed to do it. Very simple. But we get spun up on this other stuff. So, is there going to be an eclipse on the 8th? Yes. Is that a significant event? Yeah. For Americans that live in that part of the country, a total eclipse going right across the continental U.S., yeah, go check it out, man. I'll probably take the kid and wife outside and look at it and go, yep, eclipse. Pretty cool. Remember that eclipse? I've seen eclipses, solar eclipses in the United States when I was a kid. It's not the first time this ever happened. If these guys are making it to look to you like there's some kind of synchronization between the eclipses and CERN and earthquakes, I am telling you, they are no different than that guy hopping up and down on the freaking pyramid in, South America 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, cutting out hearts. Because these guys are going for your heart, man. His word leads to peace, and it tells us how to live. Okay? There are functional elements of this book that no one cares about. This book is an instruction manual how to live. It is not a dog and pony show to entertain everybody. And I know there's a lot of cool stuff out there that's very entertaining. But until we can do the basics first, are there people that are supposed to look to the side? Are there examples in the scriptures of the wise men looking for the star, which is a sign of something? Or did Daniel pass on this information to certain people at certain times for his time prophecies? Yes. However, until you are squared away with the basics, until you can do the ABCs of what Papa instructed, right? We have no business going to advanced calculus to calculate times of certain events, which, it's all blatantly laid out in the book of how that actually goes down. But we have to walk first. We have to walk before we run. Okay? And I'm telling you, you got to look at people and what are they pointed at? Are they focused on the entertaining stuff, or are they focused on the fundamental realities of us trying to be washed from all the silliness so that we can be more like him? Us trying to die to the old man so that we can become like him. Now, is it okay to see if you want to be entertained by something, look at the word closely. Study his Bible, study his word, man. There is plenty in there to keep you busy for a long time. Just Genesis 1, verse 1 can keep you busy for 25 years straight. There's a lot of information just in his word, okay? Employ your filters, okay? And don't be bamboozled by Babylon's babblers. And with that, you guys have a wonderful day. Do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven like the heathens are, for they are certainly dismayed at them. Okay? This is literally in the book. Okay? Have a good day, Rex out.